Ladies and gentlemen, we find ourselves standing at a precipice of realization, gazing into the tumultuous and often perplexing landscape of modern women's basketball. If there ever existed a definitive, irrefutable justification for the conspicuous absence of Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, and indeed any athlete who prioritizes their physical preservation over participating in a gladiatorial spectacle, we are currently witnessing it in real time. We must consider the prudence, the absolute strategic necessity of declining an invitation to the Unrivaled League. For those who wish to avoid having the absolute essence beaten out of them, the decision to abstain from this venture is not merely a choice, it is an act of survival. When we peel back the layers of marketing and hype, what we are left with is a format, 3x3 basketball, that, to speak with unvarnished candor, offers a product of deeply questionable merit. It is a variation of the sport that, in its current execution, leaves much to be desired. But beyond the structural deficiencies of the game itself, we must address the sheer, deafening silence from the viewing public. Who, we must ask, is actually watching these individuals? The metrics are not merely disappointing, they are an indictment of the product's relevance. These women are engaging in ferocious physical scraps, pushing their bodies to the limit, all for an audience that barely registers on the national consciousness. We are talking about a struggle to scrape together perhaps 110,000 viewers, a figure that pales in comparison to any serious sporting endeavor. Consider, if you will, the stark contrast presented to us just last night. On one side, we had the gravitational pull of a national championship atmosphere featuring what is destined to be the #1 overall pick in the NFL draft, squaring off against the Miami Hurricanes. That is a spectacle that commands attention, a true convergence of talent and consequence. And on the other side, we had unrivaled basketball. One has to ponder, with a sense of genuine curiosity and skepticism, how many souls actually tuned in to witness that. Did the broadcast even manage to capture 60,000 viewers? It is a question that demands an answer, for it speaks volumes about the league's viability. You truly have to wonder. The reality is, I was scarcely aware that these events were even transpiring. It operates in such a shadow of obscurity that acknowledging its existence feels like discovering a secret that no one bothered to keep. And yet, despite this lack of visibility, incidents of significant concern are occurring, incidents that we must dissect with the gravity they deserve. Before we delve into the specifics, allow me to remind you to engage with this platform, like, comment, and ensure your subscription is active, for we are navigating these turbulent waters together. Let us turn our gaze to the figure of Marina Mabrey, a name that, for many, has become synonymous with a specific brand of on-court conduct that borders on the egregious. We all recall the individual who played for the Connecticut Sun last year, and we certainly remember the behavior exhibited. It was, to put it bluntly, a display of conduct that lacked all decorum. We witnessed a shove to the ground, a violent slamming of a competitor to the hardwood. Let us call it exactly what it is. She ran full steam with apparent intent, driving Caitlin Clark into the floor. This occurred, of course, during the JCS Sheldon game, a contest that also featured Sophie Cunningham executing a maneuver towards the conclusion of the match that can only be described as reminiscent of a Steven Seagal Aikido demonstration. If we cast our minds back to that moment, the flashback reveals a chaotic scene. You see Mabrey rushing in, embodying a spirit of aggression that transcends the boundaries of sport, slamming Clark to the floor in a display of what can only be characterized as trashiness. Now, if you are searching for Exhibit A, the primary evidence as to why Caitlin Clark is not participating in this unrivaled league, look no further. Why logically would one subject oneself to a league populated largely by individuals who harbor a palpable disdain for you? Because when we analyze the roster and the atmosphere, that is precisely what Unrivaled appears to be. It seems composed of a collective that holds a deep-seated animosity toward the new face of the sport. There exists, it seems, a minority fandom, and I emphasize the word minority, composed of the remnants of the original legacy WNBA fan base. One must assume they derive some enjoyment from Unrivaled, perhaps because it represents a facsimile of basketball that prioritizes physical confrontation over skill. It is a venue where we see sports players, if we can be generous with the terminology, engaging in something that vaguely resembles the sport we know. The recent altercation between Marina Mabrey and Courtney Williams serves as a perfect microcosm of this devolution. We witnessed Mabrey questioning Williams, asking if she is about that life. The response from Courtney Williams, "Believe that," is the kind of dialogue that, frankly, feels like an assault on one's intellectual faculties. Reading such an exchange feels like losing IQ points in real time, but they did not stop at words. They engaged physically. We see Mabrey with the ball, and then the inevitable descent into chaos. The visuals, the replays, they confirm what we have long suspected. Mabrey is exactly who we thought she was. The conduct is trash-tastic, a spectacle of unsportsmanlike behavior that does nothing to elevate the game. And in the midst of this melee, we had a sighting of Brittney Griner. Yes, Brittney Griner was present. One looks at Courtney Williams and wonders, is she not a formidable figure? Am I losing my grip on reality? But what truly is disheartening, what strikes at the very core of the issue, is the palpable sense that this is exactly what the Unrivaled League desires. They seem to operate under the delusion that this is basketball. They believe that this display, this brawling, this posturing is the product the world wants to see. I must state unequivocally, I do not want to watch that crap. Seriously. And frankly, neither does the broader public. This incident occurred in front of what appeared to be tens and tens of people. It is unbelievable. Marina Mabrey, it appears, has learned absolutely nothing from past transgressions, and this leads us to a darker, more foreboding prediction regarding the future of the WNBA itself. Ladies and gentlemen, mark my words, they will no sooner get the WNBA collective bargaining agreement signed, perhaps, just perhaps, and Caitlin Clark will return to the court. And the moment she does, the headhunting will begin anew. The targeting of the Indiana Fever superstar will recommence with a vengeance. We are destined to see a resurgence of the mistreatment, the thuggery, the relentless physical intimidation. We have discussed this before. Consider how many games she played last year. Was it 13, maybe 15? And yet there were 4 distinct major incidents. It felt as though every third contest brought forth a situation where someone was aggressively going after her. Whether it was Marina Mabrey, JCS Sheldon, Tina Charles, or Angel Reese, it was one situation after another, a relentless parade of hostility. And now we see the majority of these very individuals populating the Unrivaled League, and they have the audacity to wonder why Caitlin Clark fans, why the Indiana Fever faithful are not tuning in to watch this product. If I am seeking to watch basketball, my objective is to witness athleticism and strategy, not this extracurricular nonsense on the court. I am not tuning in for the trash-tasticness of it all. However, we must acknowledge that there is a specific section of the fandom that desires this. This is what they want from their entertainment product. But let us be clear. If I am looking for theatrical violence, if I crave that type of spectacle, I am turning my television to the WWE. I am going to watch the real stuff. Well, we know it is scripted, but the point stands. At least in that arena, I know I am getting flying clotheslines off the top rope because it is part of the performance. It is supposed to happen. It is not supposed to happen in a basketball game. This kind of behavior does absolutely nothing to help the cause of women's basketball. It undermines the effort to bring more eyes, more legitimate interest into the sport. It certainly does not aid a league that, as we have analyzed, appears to be doomed. They may labor under the misconception that this conflict will draw ratings, but they are mistaken. An incident between two people that the general public largely does not care about will not move the needle. No one gives a rat's tail about it. And yes, we acknowledge the Brittany Griner sighting. It is what it is. One might say forgivingly that she did not want to go play in Russia this off-season. Is it too soon to make such an observation? I do not know. One assumes they still play basketball over there, correct? But personally speaking, I probably wouldn't take any treats with me if I were in her position. I guarantee you, simply by articulating this thought, I will lose subscribers. But it is what it is. We must be real about the history here. Before the arrival of Caitlin Clark, let us not forget, that was the WNBA's primary claim to fame in the broader cultural zeitgeist. Brittany Griner being incarcerated in Russia for cannabis oil. That was the narrative. The trajectory we are witnessing is one of profound mismanagement of image and potential. The Unrivaled League, by embracing this rough, chaotic style, is alienating the very demographic that could sustain it. The contrast between the minimal viewership of these games and the massive audience for events like the Miami Hurricanes game illustrates a market that has rejected this product. The failure to reach even 60,000 viewers is a damning statistic that cannot be spun or ignored. It signifies a product that is disconnected from the desires of the modern sports consumer. Furthermore, the presence of players who have historically targeted the sport's biggest star creates an environment that is hostile not just to Caitlin Clark, but to the growth of the game itself. When we see Marina Mabrey engaging in the same behaviors that drew ire during the WNBA season, it confirms a stagnation of culture. It signals that the thuggery, a term we must use to describe the non-basketball violence, is not an anomaly, but a feature of this particular subset of players. The danger lies in the inevitable return to the WNBA. The signing of the CBA will not act as a reset button on these personal animosities. The headhunting of the Indiana Fever superstar is a looming threat that hangs over the league like a dark cloud. If the behavior we are seeing in Unrivaled is any indication, the upcoming WNBA season will be fraught with the same targeted aggression that marred the previous one. The incidents involving Tina Charles, Angel Reese, and others were not isolated. They were symptomatic of a league struggling to adjust to a new hierarchy of stardom. For the fans of Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, the message is clear. The Unrivaled League offers nothing but a reminder of the hostility their favorite player faces. It is a showcase of the very elements that detract from the beauty of the sport. Why would they tune in? Why would they support a venture that features a facsimile of basketball played by those who seem intent on physical intimidation rather than scoring points? In conclusion, the Unrivaled League stands as a testament to what happens when a sport loses its way. It is a product that sucks, to use the vernacular, precisely because it has prioritized the wrong elements. It has mistaken scraping and fighting for intensity. It has mistaken a shrinking legacy fan base for a growth market, and in doing so, it has doomed itself to obscurity, playing out its dramas in front of tens of people while the rest of the sporting world looks elsewhere. As we move forward, we must remain vigilant. The narrative of women's basketball is being written, and it is crucial that we distinguish between the sport that is growing, the sport of Caitlin Clark and high-level competition, and the sport that is stagnating in the mire of petty grievances and physical altercations. The choice is clear. The viewers have spoken with their remote controls. The ratings do not lie. And the future of the sport depends on leaving this trashiness behind. Thank you for watching the show. We will continue to monitor this situation with the scrutiny it demands. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, for the story is far from over. Until next time.